All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in for another Authors Impact Hub podcast. I am your host, Juanita Woodson, and I am joined by Miss Ally Dalsimer. And I always allow the authors to do their own introductions. I always say I don't think that anyone can say who we are better than ourselves. So before we get started, Ally, I'd love for you to introduce yourself in about 30 seconds. If you can just share the title of the book we'll be discussing today and who you are.
Absolutely. Thanks, Juanita. I'm actually really happy to be here with you. So, as you said, my name is Ally Dalsimer, and I am an author and speaker in sort of the motivational, inspirational space. I also host a podcast right now focused on my book, which is It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. And I have another podcast that I do with my son called So, What's Your Process? Where we talk with creatives about what they do and how they do it.
Okay, I love that. It is okay not to be fabulous every day.
Because who can be fabulous every day?
What a weight to put off of your shoulder, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So before we get into our discussion, I want to open us up with a little bit of an icebreaker, right? So what's one thing that has brought you joy or made you smile this week?
So I was thinking about this and I'm going to take some liberty and answer the question that I wish you'd asked, right? That's the interviewee's secret. And there was something that brought me joy. It actually happened last month, not last week, but it was my birthday. And my son signed me up for this African dance greetings, and he got the Flying Tigers. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they did this song and sang me happy birthday, and they kissed my picture, and it just really brought me joy. It was like the best gift ever, and I saved the video and I watch it all the time. So
Oh, well, happy belated birthday.
yeah.
That is a memory that you can hold on to forever. So I love that. Yes. All right. So let's get into our Q&A. So what inspired you to write It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day?
This book started as life advice for my kids. I was inspired to try to help guide them through what I call the slings and arrows of our daily lives, just deal with those obstacles with a little grace because they had lost their father a few years ago and I was trying to raise them as a single mom, and it's tough. It's tough. Um, but in the end, they ended up passing it to their friends, and they were the ones who encouraged me to publish it. So I guess what inspired me to actually publish it was my kids' belief that the book would help other people.
Okay. And that just kind of lead into that next question then. So what moment in your own life helped you to embrace that you don't have to have it all together?
You know, it's funny because I do talk in the book about a moment that happened, but recently I've been, it's the time of year where we reflect on things, right? We've all been reflecting on the year past, the year to come, that kind of thing. And I realized there was actually a moment where um, it happened a few months ago where I was feeling really overwhelmed by everything that I had on my plate. I was doing all these things, and I'm like, I'm not doing any of them well, and going on and on and on. And my son actually pulled me aside and he said, "Mama, you don't have to be fabulous every day." And I was like, right? I don't. And so that really is a moment that I have come back to since then because we are the worst at taking our own advice. And so for me, that has become my moment where I've realized I don't have to be fabulous every day.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And I've been learning to not carry what is not mine too, right? That has
Right.
definitely helped me in life as well. So you blend humor with vulnerability. How does that help you connect with your readers?
Yeah. You know, there's a saying about if you don't laugh about it, you'll just cry all the time. And my book is very much, it's been referred to as uh, a memoir in a way. And because it's a very personal book, I include a lot of very personal stories in there. And so I'm not sure that I intentionally think about how humor, vulnerability, these things, but I think what helps connect with the readers is that I'm talking about my life, my experiences, or some that are related to me relatives of mine or my children or just anecdotes that have happened. And we're all the same at the macro level. We all experience grief and loss and joy and fear, anxiety, major life changes. And by sharing my experiences, I think people can relate to that because they can then look at that and go, you know what? I also lost my mom. Or, wow, I also had kids who, you know, left for college and I'm alone, or whatever the case may be. And I think that that's what makes the book relatable, is because people can see themselves in it.
Yeah, my son is getting ready to graduate in May, so
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
to
I was
experience.
I was good for about 2 weeks. I was good for about 2 weeks. I was like, yay, no dishes, no laundry. This is awesome. And then I was like, I was so sad.
Oh, that is getting, I'm going through that. Like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what am I going to do? So, absolutely. So, what is one misconception about self-acceptance that your book addresses?
That it's a one and done, that it's just boom, it's done. Because self-acceptance is really hard, especially for those of us who have really suffered with low self-esteem or other issues. And it's a process, it's a journey. The subtitle of the book is A Journey to Self-Discovery. And each of these little chapters, so my book is formatted that you've got a little quote and then just 2 or 3 pages of text, just provides an anecdote or a little story. It's very bite-sized and easily digestible. And once you travel those stepping stones and go on that journey, you'll be on your way to that process. But I think that's the big misconception. People are like, oh, I'll never do it because I can't do it. It's like, well, no, it's hard. You've spent, how old are you? Right? You spent 30 years getting to this
Right.
point. You're not going to poof change things in a day or a week or a month. It can take a long time. And I think that's the biggest misconception that I hope people really just grace themselves a little patience and kindness.
Absolutely. You learn something new about yourself every single day, right?
So
So,
true.
it definitely is a journey. So, what is one practical tool or takeaway a reader can begin using today?
To distance yourself from people and places that seek to bring you down, right? If you're in a situation or with a person and you're feeling bad in some way, check in with yourself. That is the absolute first thing that you can do to really be kind to yourself and help yourself along your journey. Just don't be in those places. Try to minimize your time with those people because people will bring you down for whatever reason.
Yes, that saying elevation requires separation.
That's a great way to put it. Elevation requires separation.
That
Yeah.
is,
And that can be tough. I mean, it can be tough, especially if the person who's really bringing you down is like a really close friend or a relative, parent. That can be tough, but you know what? It can be done.
yeah, that's true because they may be closer to us than that's true. Absolutely. So, was there a chapter or part of the book that stretched you personally while writing?
No, not in the writing, because as I said, I intended this book for my children. So I was very open, I was very vulnerable, I was very honest, and I shared with them things that I have never shared with people. What was hard was putting that out into the public. And I was like, okay, because I'd always been a very private person. And here I am sharing really personal, um, intimate details of my life and my personal struggles and pain. And that's something that I had not, I'd been raised, by society to not do. And so that was really hard.
Yeah. So, if I can ask, was there any part of the book that maybe was hard for your children to read?
They didn't express it to me, and I didn't specifically ask.
Okay.
Um, they both separately told me they really appreciated my honesty and they were really surprised. And I remember my daughter giving me a really big hug and being like,
Good.
I had no idea that you were going through all this
Good.
about something that was in there. So,
Yeah.
but no, no, they
Good.
didn't express that.
Perfect, because I know when you're writing about the personal things that it can sometimes, and they wanted you to write and to publish it. It can sometimes be, hard for our children or our family members to take some of what we share in our books? I wanted to ask that question just to follow up because you said it didn't stretch you personally. So I wonder what impact it may have had on some of the personal things that you wrote about in the book. So what do you hope someone who is feeling overwhelmed or not fabulous gains from reading your book? Because everyone should feel fabulous.
I think that what they gain is, despite my title, I convey that everyone is fabulous, and
Yeah.
you need to embrace your perfect imperfections, because we are all wonderfully unique and imperfect.
Yeah.
And that those traits, those quirks and foibles, are what make us special. And so the big thing that I would hope people would take away is the message that you already have everything you need inside of you to be successful. And I define success as really loving who you are, what you're doing, and who you're doing it with. And if you view success in that way, we already have what we need inside of us. It's not something we need to attain from somewhere else.
Yes, absolutely. So, with the awards and recognition your book has received, how has that affirmed your journey as an author so far?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, definitely the first couple of words, I was like, yes,
Mm.
I'm validated as an author. My book has value and merit. It's awesome. But as the awards kept coming in, and I've received a number of them, they don't really have any intrinsic value to me as an author. Not that I don't love saying award-winning author.
You're
Like,
getting ready.
I'm never going to tire of that. Um, but I think what it does do is it validates the merit of my work and its contents to the reader. So if you go to, say, Amazon or Goodreads or whatever you're looking, or you go to my website and you see that my book has won whatever these awards are that I've won. I've won, a few awards, but you see that and you're like, okay, well, there's a number of third parties who have judged that the content of this book is worth my reading. And I
Hmm.
think that's where the value comes in, more than validating me.
Absolutely. Yes. So, what message or theme do readers tell you resonates with them most?
Well, the message that they almost universally dislike the most and
Okay.
then learn to embrace and really value the most is the underlying theme of personal accountability that I have. Because outside of, sort of the normal boundaries, I mean, if you're not living in a war zone, if you're not on the spectrum at a point where you need medication, but if
Mhm.
you're in that 80% of that bell curve, it's up to you, right? That's the message. Like, if you really want it, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
will find a way. And that is a message that people push back on at first, and then when they come to sort of go through the book and really embrace it, and I add a little addendum at the end that, as it's a little work sheet that you can go through, and and then they come to really embrace that, yes, they can do, and it is them. And that's the message that I think resonates most.
Yes, absolutely. That is my thing, Miss Allie. I am big on like personal self accountability. I'm really big on that. It is always you, right? We are
It
not,
is.
we are just not victims. I'm just so big on just living a life of being victorious, right? That is what I see.
100%. I love that. Victorious. I love that.
Yes.
And we have small victories every day, every little thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of us, of course, struggle to do is like lose weight, right? We all want to lose weight. And yeah, it's like, I really want that macchiato. But you know what? If you like, what? I'm not having it. Celebrate. Like, what an awesome victory, right? That's a huge victory right there, that you chose not to do that. You chose yourself over your immediate gratification. You chose your long-term goal. So I think I love that, right?
Go
We need to be
all
victorious in our
in.
lives. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. They add up over time, and before you know it, you've reached your health goal, right?
that's right.
Yes, absolutely. So how can listeners connect with you on social media And then where can they purchase your books?
Yes, I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me on all the social media platforms at my name, Ally Dalsimer. That's Dalsimer. And go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. It comes out twice a month. It's free. I do not sell or exchange. I don't spam you. You get 2 newsletters a month, and it has a little author update. And then I provide what I call fabulous life advice, which is, how to deal with different situations, or maybe it's motivational or inspirational. It changes, each time. Sign up for my newsletter, and that's a great way. And tune into my podcast with my son. It's called So What's Your Process? And it's at YouTube, and it's on all the audio platforms. And my book, which is available in hard copy, Kindle, audiobook in both English and Spanish, is available everywhere, every online retailer. And yeah, please do read it, and please reach out, connect with me. I have a contact me on my website, and I love to hear from readers.
Awesome. Yes. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for spending some time with me on my podcast, dropping the gems, reminding us about self accountability. That is just my thing. I love that. So I always love to end the show with this last question, right? So, what impact do you want your books and your brand to leave on the world?
I want people to know that no matter what anyone else has said, they are worthy, and you are worthy, and your dreams are worthwhile. If you believe in them, pursue them, because they're worth pursuing. And don't let the naysayers bring you down.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listeners, make sure that you go and you connect with Miss Allie. She has 2 podcasts that you can tune into. Subscribe to her newsletter, comes out twice a month. Make sure that you subscribe to the Authors Impact Hub podcast. When you listen to this episode, I always love to leave this reminder. Share a takeaway from this episode, something that resonated with you. Leave that comment. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And then make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, make sure that you stay tuned for the next episode. Take care.